So it's March 18th, once again, 2025. My grandmother passed away March 18th, 1991, Ivy Marion Cook. I miss her. She was a fantastic cook. She told me as a boy that we might be related to Captain James Cook. I later found out that I was when I went to Trafalgar Square, and the statue looked like me with just 1770 year on, basically. And so anyways, the whole point of this video is I'm God, and I'm going to be regent. I'm the richest guy in the world. So I'm not going to be giving out, like, there's going to be lotteries, right? But a lottery would be equivalent to me sitting here panhandling, in which I am, right? I got like $5 at this location so far. But the equivalent to me panhandling, and then somebody dropping off like maybe $1,000 bill, right? Or $10,000. Right, that'd be fantastic, right? That'd be quite substantial being a panhandler, right? Whereas like once I'm regent, it'd be like, okay, well, you're a panhandler, and then depending on your situation, because most panhandlers like to keep me poor for my intellectual property, but and a lot of people, but there are some that what they do is they get people on vices. So in my scenario, I smoke legal cannabis, but they pretend that Tina is a drug. I don't even know what it is, but it's a drug that like at least several times a week they're like, you want Tina? Guilty by association because you're panhandling. So people, I'm sitting here so people come up and talk to you. It's not like I go out of my way to talk to them. Like that guy came blocks to come and see me, right? I go out of my way to not see people because they violate me. The High Park in Toronto is fantastic because you can't even see a building in Toronto. So I lived in Northern Ontario for a while, so it's a lot of trees in Lake Superior. Actually, if you're ever in Canada, now's a good time, right? Like Lake Superior, now till like even October is fantastic drive. Like driving from say Toronto to Thunder Bay, it's a 14-hour drive, but it's scenic for the last 7 hours. Anyways, you get to see scenic the whole way. Like Ontario is very beautiful. Very beautiful. Like in Canada, I haven't been to the East Coast, but the most beautiful provinces are Quebec, Ontario, and then Alberta, and then BC. Like they're phenomenal views, right? Like the drive, right? Once I'm regent, I'm going to augment Manitoba and Saskatchewan to be more picturesque, like put more trees and more altitude, and like excavate make lakes and stuff like that, and because in cities there's going to be vertical farms, right, to like in buildings, like skyscrapers, like rectangle buildings will be farms to for cities, right, to be able to so to take transportation and shipping out of it for certain things, right, to make it's always going to be local, and then local like for the city, then local for the province, local for the province would be equivalent to Canada in this scenario in the future, right, or China, etc. Right, it'd be a country would be a province, and then a province would be equivalent to a county, and then the city, etc. Right, so just for harmonization, and unfortunately, like to keep ethnic parity where it is, like I'm going to restrict immigration, but people will be able to, like good people will be able to travel for 6 months a year, like in different countries, right, up to and live in the main country or whatever, right, it'd be a tax for the whole system, right, and then it didn't work. Watch, I'll just show you how fast I can create the strategy. Watch my eyes when I do this. Okay, so again, there's the strategy, so like to make it harmonized and whatnot, I could, I was able to think with one syllable with a new language that I created 300 years for what your biology would take to understand. It would take you 24/7 for 300 years to process that information from one syllable. And so since there's generational data laws, so there is some positive aspects of it. They made it so now it's at Google, you're per syllable. The Google's 100 digits per syllable. Right, like that's a long time, right? Like that's a useful capability, but well, I guess I could have. Well, I'll just show you right now. Like I'm just gonna play a little game in my brain that doesn't develop technology, but I'm gonna learn something that I'm gonna forget, but I'm gonna be completely happy. You're gonna see happiness in my face at then. So it's gonna be a Google year. So that was equivalent to a Google year. I didn't develop any technology, but that was equivalent to Google's 100-digit rate, and a billion years is 10 digits. So that was to me my brain processed in basically 100-digit year in that amount of time. And it did hack my face to ride along with extra skin and what have you. But I was happy at the end, right, of the story, right? I just told myself a really long story. I guess I'll tell myself right now a billion-year joke, and then it'll be simplified so people, after I exhibit it on my face, it'll be exhibited on their face, say within 4 seconds after I'll simplify it, and then they'll be able to understand it. So a billion. So that's me. So then they're trying not to, right? They're trying not to, right? So it took my brain, I processed a billion years worth of information, and then I told you the same information. I simplified it in that amount of time. So anyway, so I'm God, and I guess I'll tell you a joke right now why I'm God. And entertainment for anybody that ever watches this video. You'll have an understanding at any moment in time in the future. But nobody can peer into the future other than you. And I'll show you why I'm God. I'll tell you any question you ask, you think at that moment, I'll tell you why I'm God. And I'll tell you stories about your life that nobody else should know. Not even technology. But so that's the code. So anyways, the whole point of the story, this video, is I'm going to give you opportunities to get my money. I'm going to give you hurdles, personal growth hurdles, right? Because the thing about running the entire planet is I want my people to live longer and healthier, right? So there can be, I think I posted another video, but you could live at a different, you might live and work close to two companies with another person that lives and works with a company, right? So I could make it so you move houses, and then you're closer to work, and then you have less time every day to go to work, so it's beneficial for me so you're never late or what have you, right? And then, but for you, you have more time for your personal life, right? So it's advantageous for me because then you're less stressed, right? You're not as rushed in the morning to get to work, and you have less distance to travel, and you have more personal time for yourself, right? And then industries that, I like to smoke, right? So industries that cause problems, 10% of their profit margin will offset medical expenses, right? And our foods that cause fatness or anything that causes a problem for people, 10% of the profit margin is going to offset to do it. And even for cars and luxury items, right? 10% of their profit margin is going to offset to make it cheaper for other people. I own all these companies, right? So I'm just going to make it most of the main ones anyways, right? And I'm going to make it so most of the main ones, but so I'm going to make it so they're able to 10% of the profit margin goes to make it so if you buy, say, a sports car, a super sports car, right, 10% is kicked down to somebody that can buy a sports car, and 10% of the sports car market might be kicked down to another car market, all the way down to somebody gets a pair of shoes. Transportation, right? Make people travel fast, and I'm going to make it so people don't spend. Well, to get into entry-level things are going to be cheaper, but then if you entry-level housing, right, is going to be pretty basic, but then luxurious housing is supply and demand and markup, and right, so staple goods at the grocery stores, good core wholesome items that propagate human health are going to be cheap, right? But you have to do it yourself. Right, you gotta do the recipe. But if you want it all packaged, all pretty and made, prepared for you, somebody had to do that. There was some skill required, and it took time, right? So it's going to be marked up, and it's like going to a restaurant, right? I guess I'll just say it. Might as well say it in this video too. But if you it's easier to save $1 than it is to make $1. Try asking your boss for an extra $1 at work efficiently. Be like, hey, can I get an extra $1? And be like, well, why? I can replace you. They're thinking, right? That's what they're, especially entry-level jobs. Entry-level jobs, you have virtually no choice, chance of getting a job, a raise at all, right? But it's easier to save $1, right? So you work at that place. You might eat at that place all the time, right? It's cheaper to go to a grocery store and make yourself a lunch and then save yourself like for what it might cost you $30 at the grocery store, but you're spending $80, so you save yourself $50, so you're $50 richer, right? So you keep making prudent decisions like this, and decisions like that over the long term, and then if you invest in the stock market from 18 to 30, you make more than somebody that invests in the stock market from 30 to 65, because compound interest. The compound interest could compound your problems, right? Make it worse, right? So people right now, generational pedophiles, are making it worse for mankind in the future, but so again them all, and they're compounding problems for mankind to have to deal with, right? So that being said, with an open loan, my first car loan, I had a 29% interest rate, but I'm good at math, right? So it was an open loan, and when times are good, right, when it's feast time, right, it's a good time to pay off some debt and then buy something substantial that you're gonna appreciate over a period of time, right? That doesn't depreciate as much. Depreciate means lose value, right? Like, so a couch, right, it takes a long time before your couch wears out, right? So you might buy yourself like a $1,500 couch or whatever, right? And or a $1,500 TV or fridge, or cabinet, like, say a table in your master bedroom or whatever, your cabinetry or what have you, right? Like like more, probably more than that. Say just say $3,500 a kid, 2025, right, to get a nice like I wouldn't even know, like, but end tables, and then maybe a little trunk, right, and bed frame or whatever, right? That probably cost several $1,000s, right? But so if you have extra money, right, you could buy yourself, like, if you get all of a sudden you come into extra money, right, buy yourself something that's gonna last years, right? But then pay off debt, right? But you're always gonna be in debt when you're young and broke, right? So always make sure you pay off as much debt as you can, but live life, because life isn't guaranteed, right? Tomorrow's not guaranteed. So the next point of the story is with math, right? I had a 29% interest loan, and I was making good money at the time, right? So I paid $500, and no, I don't have the screen recorder on this one, unfortunately. But I paid $500 extra into my car loan, and I shaved off 8 months worth of payments, right, at $279, right? So 2 months, like at 1 month, basically I paid off 1 month, and then I got 7 months for free, right, of interest free, like payments that I didn't have to worry about in year 4, right? I was making good money in year 1, right? So when you're making good money, when times are good, pay extra off on your debt, because you're not guaranteed to make money tomorrow. Bankrupting them all. I just bankrupted a bunch of pedophiles, generational pedophiles that rape me and keep me poor. Have I been ripped off over $350 trillion in my lifetime, my Facebook job? Am I smart enough, if I'm worth $350 trillion, to catch you for $0 my Facebook job? Right? Because a trillion is 1 million. It's making a million. Like, it's hard enough to make $1 million, right? So a trillion, you make a million 1 million times. And I've made over like $350 trillion, right? So they keep me poor for my intellectual property. The beauty about their ineptitude is they're like, hey, okay, he can project a billion years in the future. So let's predict how we can read mankind a billion years. This is the Planet of the Apes simulation mode. This is a Christian Eric Carnemeyer endorsement mode. But this is Planet of the Apes mockery mode. So let's read mankind for a billion years and all these alien species, and then he'll find out in 4 seconds, right? So then it's like, wow, I found out in 4 seconds their plan. So right now there's their plan, full culpability, and then they're not Christian Eric Carnemeyer, and he was mocking. But so they just forecasted to me, my brain, and also to aliens that could be listening to my brain as well. Because just imagine, like, I have evolution, and did I show in this video with oh no, it was my last video. I showed my last video how I'm an android, basically. Like it shows me when I eat meat, I have certain muscles, and then when I eat just vegetables, simulated in my biology, my body looks malnourished, and then when I eat both meat and vegetables, I look optimal. basically what you were designed for. I knew that was going to happen. That's why I made the video. But we're on the worst. Right, unfortunately, I just showed it, and they can't use that subconsciously. But that voice noise that I made out of my mouth, that was me showing my psyche a pink roast. Right, like a roast where it's just slightly pink with steam. I'll just show you right now. Watch I'll make a vegetarian like me. Watch this right now. Like, so I'm gonna show it, and then this steam and how like their lips are watering through mine. They now like me. I'm gonna bring back 10,000 lesbians. Wow. So that was just got a little sidetracked. So the whole video is basically you started on the ground floor, and then you can work your way up to the top floor, right? So there's no cons, right? Everybody pays the boatman.
I could buy a cigarette off of you?
Yeah, I could sell you a smoke.
It's broken.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Oh.
They're all, I spilled some water on them, so they're all fucked up.
It's alright.
And words are just words like hello. Like, watch, another example is, hello is a word that people are not offended by, right? Hello. Hello! Right, so what's the difference, right? Hello is just a word, right? It's how we say it. So it's like, fuck! Or, fuck. Or, you walk in and then, oh, fuck. Right, it's just a word. Right, people choose to be offended by certain words, but they don't be offended by generational titles. Right, and so they try to get me to use words like swears, curses as people, but they rape their kids. That's pretty strange. And as I know everything, oh, so like this, oh, they're doing that, oh, because this theme, right? So getting all the perpetrators. Then watch this diffuser and the 48, 84, or 50, then 55 or 85. And then everybody got it right in mouth. Whoa. And then nobody else had a turn after that. The most lose got the most. So, wow, that was pretty fantastic. So I'm going to go with the brindle beard as I'm the animal rapist destroyer. So, well, basically, long and short. So that being said, for instance, like for me, I like poker. Poker for me was a stepping stone. I wanted to get good at poker, then invest in the stock market, and then invest in my innovations. Right, I had a company, a corporation called Adaptive Edge, and an idea that would have easily sold 1 billion units. Right? But it was just kind of I'm a realist, right? So I know that my first company would have been, my goal with the corporation would have been basically to get a public share, like become an IPO, an initial public offering on the stock market, and then overtly, so that means like not beat around the bush, just tell people exactly how it is that I plan on selling my shares to the company and releasing control, basically, strategically. Because as like going through like getting an initial public offering, I would have got milked. Like that would have got taken advantage of every step along the way. But I'm smart, right? So I would have learned every step along the way, and then I would have did it myself with the fun tech. Incorporated would have been my company, and then where I would have been able to ideally make enough money that I could have afford to jump through all the hoops myself, be my own angel investor, right? So if I won, well, I guess back to, I guess I did reiterate the point. So 1 month of my car loan worked out to 8 months, so I saved 7 months worth of payments. So it's always advantageous when times are good to invest in your future, even though it's not assured, but you got to hope for the best, right? Like, you got to plan for the worst, right? That eventually, after you get a certain age, like I'm biologically immoral, but if not, I'm 47, right? I would have to get life insurance and plan about my mortality eventually, right? Like you look at the obituaries, a lot of life isn't guaranteed, right? So you need to have ideally, if you're young, you could buy, like if you live in a big city, you might want to buy a plot of land, like a cemetery plot, when you're young, because it is an investment, right? Like it might cost $40,000 in 2025, and Canada, right? So if you're 40, right, you're hoping not to die when you're 80, right? But it might be $80,000 at that point, right? Right, so just things go up. Right. That being said, if you sense a recession coming on, like where there's high inflation, at that point, and you have savings, you don't want to deplete all your savings because job security, what have you. But if you have a secure job, then you're golden. But if you have enough, if your lifestyle permits you to have savings, but now is a good time to buy. At that point, they try to proliferate differently, but now would be a good time to buy it, like when inflation's going up, right? Because your purchasing power goes down when inflation goes up. So your $100,000, say year one, during inflation, might only really what you could buy for $100,000. Well, say $50,000, whatever you could buy for $50,000 year one, it might require $100,000 by year four, right? So you could have got that brand new car, or like if you would have bought in year one, and now it costs you twice as much, right? Because things double, right? Especially with malignancy and with generational pet loss, right? How many simultaneous cons, and I don't see in subliminal, how many simultaneous cons do they sell regarding my biology per moment? Is it more than 5 cons per moment, my Facebook job? And the system is supposed to be a one-person turn, right? They're trying to outwit each other for control of my brain, but they require 5 cons at once. Wow. So, and I'm the only one that can simultaneously think, right? And so I just did that there. My eyes exhibited it. So now imposters have to do all the tests, and they don't like that, so they're gonna die. Watch this when I pull the diffuser. All right, they died. You can't be fucking God, motherfuckers. Unfortunately, they made me live in a ghetto with cockroaches. My dad lived with servants, right? So I'm a little rough. I didn't have I have the panache, right, and style, right? Every commercial I used to act in for my parents as a kid. And my first job, I was selling roses at 6 years old, so I was competent enough in my parents' eyes not to get abducted and to give correct change with money at 6 to strangers. And then I sold chocolate bars in pretty much every city through most of Canada, well, Ontario, but in, like Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Calgary, Kenora, and it was rigged. But my sister's deceased now. She always played, when she played her Barbie, she always played with the Samantha and Pamela Smith, and then we met them in Kenora. And there was one was apparently my first girlfriend. I forget which one. For the night, right? Like I was like 10 or whatever it was, right? It was grade 5. Grade 5. So, but one thing I do remember about Kenora is if you're in the Kenora region, you're almost guaranteed to see bald eagles. At least when I went there, every time I went there, drive in town, drive off the highway. It's worth 5-10 minutes in drive in town and get a bite to eat or whatever, right? And you'll see bald eagles, like, which is phenomenal. In Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, like in Garden River, used to see bald eagles, but when they built the new highway, the bald eagles, they migrated north about a mile or so you don't see them as much. It's unfortunate. But there used to be a back road to take to my dad's place, and you would see the bald eagles. It was fantastic. So I guess I said the strategy, why was poker and stocks and then innovation. But so basically you want a primary goal. Like you just say if you wanted to be a pro athlete, your primary goal is to be a pro athlete, right? So then your secondary goal should be your first say to be rep team would be your first goal, right? Making the rep team every year and being the star, right? Every year, because if you're not the star of your rep team in your local town, then you might not be pro, right? Because if you're not the best out of like say 80,000 people as a town pool, then you might not be the best when there's 1 million people as a town pool. Just realistically, right? Because statistically, they say a doctor is 1 in 1,000 talent. That means they're academically the best out of 1,000 potential students, right? So they have more choices than everybody else. They don't have to be a doctor. Like ideally, to be a doctor, your drive should be like you want to cure disease and heal, right? Because they hack my body. I don't get sick now. I can unhack the pain in my brain. It usually takes a little while. The longest lately it's lasted was 2 days. But anyways, when you go to the doctors, they give you that prescription, and then voila, that pain goes away, and you're like, thank you, doctor. Thank you for the magical prescription, but no subliminal. But that's what you think, right? Because you feel better, right? You take that pain reliever and what have you. And now there's the thesis why cannabis is boycotted by the alcohol and pharmaceutical industry. Because cannabis stimulates the same part of the brain as pain, right? So that means it alleviates pain, right? So you don't have to smoke it. There's extracts and oils and whatnot. It's one some region. It's going to be legalized throughout the world because it's like a crop. It grows out of the ground, right? So it's naturally by God, myself, right? Like any botanical, any plant was that wasn't manufactured by man is a clue for you to solve your own vitality, like your mortality, right? Like your biology, right? Like herbal medicines have been what kept humans, extended your mortality for years, because there was 2 different cycles, right? There was the very first man that was he had lived thousands of years, like at least thousands of years, like for evolution to take off, right? And he most likely died in some sort of, I'm not going to go God mode, but he most likely died in an accident or got eaten or whatnot, but he wouldn't have died of disease or old age because he would have had to mate with his offspring, etc., right? Because the very first man, it would have been, there's no cultivating incest or anything like that, but the very first man would have had to, the predecessor species would have had a shorter life expectancy, and he wouldn't have been able to communicate as well. So and the pheromones of the offspring would have naturally made them, from an evolutionary perspective, there was no social dilemma at this point. There was no government in active royal manipulation and corporate manipulation of generational pedophilia at that point, right? There was just a biological drive to survive. That's it, evolution, right? Like that's what evolution is to survive. Right, so unfortunately, I'll show you right now. Right now, this is proof. This is the most beautiful woman on the planet. Like, it's sad. I don't want to break your heart, but ladies, but I do love Generation 1 biology because women have with this experiment, and it did remind me. But I did like so from here to that wall away, where it says pixel or whatever. I threw a woman an orgasm. I could see her heart fluttering as she orgasmed, because I've had sex with many women, so I know what it looks like. But that is so arousing to me. Like, and with my biology, my descendants' biology, our heart rate is so slow that it wouldn't have the same response to me. I wouldn't be as aroused, really, right? Because the fluttering, I see the fluttering through the chest, right, and that stimulates me as a man, right? You make her, I used to try to make her feel like a queen, so she'd make me feel like a king, right? That's all you do. Right? And then if you feel like you're getting close and you don't want to stop, then just switch positions. It's that simple. And then work on your pull-out game. And I had an immaculate pull-out game. And then my ex-wife got pregnant the very first time. She was on top. The alternative was to toss her out the window, where she was on top, right? The window was right behind me. But I love my kids. They were destined to be. But it was the very first time that she had an opportunity to control. So anyways, back to secondary. So progressive steps to achieve your goals, right? Because the harder you try, right? Like, so at first you're trying to make the rep team, right? Which is like there's less talent that you have to compete against unless you're in a big city, right? Some cities are saturated, like in Canada, like Maple Ridge, BC. For some, it might be a generational pedophile haven, but they must have weather that makes. Like, they produced several baseball players and a race car driver, which is extraordinary for Canada. We don't normally produce those players because it's hard to compete with, countries like America or the Dominican Republic. Like America, they have Georgia and Florida where they can play baseball year round, right? And warm. Like, we're in Canada, that's why we're good at hockey, because we have more winter than most people, right? So America is awesome for that too, right? Because you know, if you're say in Saskatchewan or say Montana or what would it be, Minnesota? Well, Minnesota. Oh, what it starts with a W, I think. I forget now. But anyways, if you're around Minnesota, you're gonna have more in common with a Canadian from in Ontario than you're gonna have in common with someone from New York City, Chicago, or Los Angeles. Just the geology, right? Like I lived in Sioux, Ontario, and that's why there's Sioux, Michigan, right? Like it's a sister city. Like it just happens to be a border that separates the geology, right? But you can't tell other than politics and the food, right? The people and how people dress, right? And dialect, it's pretty much the same type of people. They like the same type of things. They like to hunt, they like beer, and they like sports, right? And hockey, right? Hockey and football, right? They like hockey and football. It's the same, and fishing and hunting and same people, right? Whereas New York City, how much? This is gonna be the face of New York City. How many of them want to go hunting and walking through the bush? Right? Somebody from Minnesota, right? They're happier now. Somebody from LA, they're not happy, right? You're more like those Canadians, and it makes sense, right? Whereas Toronto, I'm in Toronto now. They call New York North, and as a kid, they spammed me to love New York City. I've been there twice, and unfortunately, the first time I went there was on my honeymoon, and I had about $1,000 Canadian, but I didn't realize I couldn't exchange money in the States. So I couldn't exchange money, so I was desperate for American money while I was in the States, so I really couldn't appreciate New York City. Like, then I took my kids there, then it wasn't quite the same thing, right? As in, I went there with my wife, and we would have went out to restaurants and what have you, right? But so parking was strategic, and at the time, Budweiser had a New York Yankees bottle, and I went to several stores to try to find that, and with my limited money, but yeah, it was awesome. Like I came in from Yonkers, from Montreal, and it was all like trees, and then all of a sudden New York City, and then I forget which bridge it is, maybe Brooklyn Bridge or whatever it is, one of those famous bridges, and then you're right in Manhattan, and was it that way? I don't know. Like that was one of the highlights, and then the JFK freeway, like driving there, and I would have ideally lived in if I lived in New York City, would have been right by Wall Street. There was it turns out to be Russian, again, but it's Russian network. But there's houses right by Manhattan that was pretty close, right? Like it was, so I stock, like if I went to school for marketing in college because I thought it was advertising. I was misinformed. Like I didn't educate myself, I guess. I wasn't misinformed. I didn't educate myself. There was no Google and no resources to really to help yourself like there are now, right? So I didn't realize that. I thought I was going to be able to make slogans and packaging and creativity.